Today, Albanians and all our supporters around the world celebrate Kosova's Independence Day, and there sure is a lot to celebrate. This year is especially meaningful to me because I have finally moved back home after my parents were driven away to Denmark by the genocidal regime of Serbia 28 years ago. In this short video, I will talk about our path to independence and then share our history as the native people of this land. So let's learn together, and before I get started, Urime Pavarsia. I will always remember which day was one of the happiest of my childhood, especially for my parents. 16 years ago on this day, we finally declared our independence from Serbia, a country that should have never had any control of us to begin with. They lost us the same way they got us, through genocide. But in 1999, their crimes were so openly inhumane that 19 countries decided to step in to stop Milosevic and his many supporters from openly slaughtering and raping civilians for more land. They had just done the same in Croatia and Bosnia. Finally, NATO intervened, Serbia withdrew, and we could slowly start rebuilding our country. And we certainly managed to do so, even though over half of it had been burned down and 1.5 million people like myself found themselves displaced. Our independence has since been recognized by over 115 UN member states and all G7 states as well. In the coming years, we hope the rest will join them in the fight for justice and peace. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, wrote a lot about how to turn our obstacles into fuel to improve ourselves. It is something that has always resonated with me because this is what I see and saw every time I return to Kosovo to see my family, or better yet, Dardania, where we have turned all our pain into new opportunities and secured a better future for our youth. For us, a lot has changed since the 90s. We enjoy a life of democracy and transparency. We're finally allowed to speak our language in public, allowed to work, go to school. We can vote for any leader we want. We have full access to all world news, and each year more and more Albanians like me from the diaspora are moving back home. Unfortunately, right across our border, Serbs are still stuck with the same government as they had in the 90s, with the same exact leaders who massacred 10.8 thousand innocent Albanians, raped over 20,000, killed 1,133 children, and displaced 1.5 million people. I hope that the new generation of bright and peaceful Serbs who message me to thank me for openly speaking against their government will be able to take down their government one day. In 2024, this is the only country alongside Russia that is currently trying to destabilize the Balkans and bring back the violence from the 90s. But like ordinary Russians, Serbia's citizens are scared to stand for what they know is right because they will get prosecuted and tortured for even apologizing for war crimes, as we saw with the case of Sandulovic just a month ago. And many others have died the same way or been tortured. This is why we must keep speaking up against Vučić and his plans. Now to a little history about my country. As most people know, Albanians are the indigenous people of Dardania. I can talk about how we most likely descended from the ancient Illyrians, specifically the Dardanians, but I don't even need to go that far back in time to prove anything. It is a fact that we didn't descend from anyone outside of the Balkans. Even historical records such as Ptolemy's map show that we were already known as the Albanois in 150 AD. Furthermore, linguistic studies prove that there is no other living language that is similar to Albanian. And as you can see, our language has its own independent branch in the language tree. If we didn't descend from the Illyrians or a closely related tribes, which are the most common theories, another theory could be that we fell from the sky and then we invented our own language, culture, ethnicity, everything separate from every other people in the Balkans. That could be. As for Serbian history, I don't have to go that far back. Well, I can't, because as Noel Malcolm so beautifully has stated it, history didn't begin for the Serbs until the 7th century, which is when the Slavs migrated to the Balkans. This is a fact. They didn't conquer us until the 13th century, so the claim that it was the cradle or heart of the Serbs is the definition of delusion, and it would be funny if so many people hadn't died because of this. But they also claim that Jesus himself was a Serb, so it's hard to argue against this kind of lunacy. But a fact is that Dardania, later Kosovo, was a part of many empires, even before this, including the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, the Bulgarian Empire, and only then briefly a part of the Serbian kingdom, until the famous battle in 1389, where Albanians and Serbs actually fought against the Ottomans together. Unfortunately, this resulted in 5 centuries of Ottoman rule, which is twice the amount of time that Serbia ruled over us. But the Ottomans were much better than the Serbs, I'll give them that. But nothing is better than independence, which we won together with Albania in 1912. Why is that important? Well, because Serbia was already de facto independent from the Ottomans in, drumroll please, 1867. Why didn't they include Kosovo in their fight for independence if it is the cradle of their existence? And why did all Albanians fight for all our land together? Those are great questions to ask when researching history. What's even more interesting is how Serbia got us around 1912-13. We were given to them by the same people who took us away again in 1999. Albania's land was taken from us by the great powers. To do this, Serbs and Montenegrins, along with other allies, conducted a massacre of 24,000 Albanians. You can read about all of these in this book by Leo Freundlich, who took all the articles at that time and documented them. But even then, Kosovo still consisted of mostly Albanians. So what now? As we all know, Serbia also claims parts of Bosnia and Croatia, where they claim they have a majority and that they are all the same people. They can't really do that with us since we can't even speak the same language. We don't understand each other. They also can't deny that 93% of the population here is Albanians, like myself. So their claim to Kosovo has now come down to, and yes, it's okay to laugh, their claim to my country is that they've built some churches back in the 13th century. The fact that those churches were built on top of ours because we were Catholic at the time doesn't matter. But imagine if all countries started invading each other over buildings. Anyway, during World War II, Kosovo was rocked back and forth and briefly reunited with Albania, as we should. Afterwards, we became an autonomous province in Yugoslavia, and these were awful times for any Albanian, as we were treated as subhumans. Serbia, to make matters worse and incite tensions, revoked our autonomy in 1989 following a bottle incident, causing an Albanian insurgency in response, starting with students protesting and then getting slaughtered for it. And they expected us to do nothing about this. We fought back, NATO helped, and now we are independent, and I love it here. I love my country. And to all my sheepies, again, Urime Pavarsia. Please don't waste your day today discussing any Serbian propaganda. Send them this video, shut down their arguments, and have a lovely day, especially if you're back in our country. Bye!